little bit about myself. My name is Ahmed. I come from Egypt. I've been living in Berlin for a while now, but I'm very passionate about being outdoors. I love surfing, but my actual favorite thing is to challenge status quo. And even though that sounds cringe and lame, but it's true. And talking of status quo, that's actually what I want to address first today. What we currently do as software engineers, back-end or front-end, are mainly categorized in 4 types of changes. We either do UX changes, where you change how the users interact with your system, or you change your APIs, how they behave, how they operate, but without breaking anything. You want to change the data model, meaning you add a new feature, you add a new field, you add a change into the business model, accompanied with changes in the storage. And lastly is infrastructure. And that is when you want to change the technologies that are running your system. I mean, like the database, changing your search engine, and so on and so forth. So that's the current status quo. But with the status quo, with these changes, come challenges. And the challenges, I think everybody here is probably aware of, that we face day in, day out during our development work. First thing is development knowledge and management. When you first hire a new back-end developer, new front-end developer, it becomes extremely difficult to onboard them, to bring them up to speed, to make them understand everything that you and your colleagues already know. All the Spryker or non-Spryker technologies that you're using in your project, all the backing services that they are using underneath, and all the nitty-gritty things underneath that they need to know to be very productive. There's also another thing where you don't want to hire only Spryker developers, for example. You want to hire general backend developers that are able to be productive, that are able to change the system, and without deep architecture knowledge of Spryker. The second one is integration efficiency and standardization. And this is mainly for the partners, for the system integrators, the ones that are in the trenches every day trying to integrate the new customer project, the new client project with Contentful. They're trying to integrate it with Akeneo. And they're doing this every project. Every time it's a duplicated effort. Every time it's a new 60 PD ticket that they have to do the same code again, to integrate the same things again, to run it on different systems. And comes with this, the problem of unstandardized approaches. So when you're integrating Akeneo, for example, or integrating a different PIM system, the approach that you get in every system is a bit different. A bit different enough that it's challenging and not too difficult because it's, again, copy-pasted. So that is the biggest issue with the integration. Next is operational complexity and cost management. And there is actually, you need to maintain this code that you copy-pasted. You need to make sure that it works, it's upgraded, all the dependencies are up to date, all the backing services are up to date, and you have to do it again for every single system. You want to configure them in a similar way, similar enough that it's an actual task that you need to do, you can't abstract it, but actually not so similar that you actually need to sit down and write this code again and again and again. And lastly, the last challenge is general system complexity. Even though Dennis was here earlier and he was talking about all these nice, cool microservice architectures and this separation, it's still complex. It's very difficult to understand the full picture of most systems. They are extremely complicated, especially in this really fast-moving business world. So, picture a solution that is not as cool as Oryx, but maybe cooler. That solves this for you in 4 different layers of composition. First one is the UX composability, which provides you the ability to deeply change how the user interacts with the system. Or API composition, where you can bring different systems together, where they can play together using APIs without breaking anything. Thirdly, data composition. You're able to change the data model of a system without breaking a different one. And lastly is infrastructure, where you're able to pick and choose the best technology while making sure that all of these subsystems work together quite well. So Dennis was here earlier, and I hope a lot of people listened to his talk, and he was talking about this PBC. And the packaged business capability is a term that was coined by Gartner, is basically a pattern. It's a pattern where software components represent and perform a well-defined business capability. As mentioned before, it is driven by the business. It's driven by business users. It's not about making the smallest component ever that does one thing very well, but actually grouping together software components so you're able to provide a full end-to-end experience to your end user. And in the world, in our world, in the Spryker world, a PBC is actually what you see on the screen here. It is, you can say, quite simple, but it consists of two main parts. The first one is the internal APIs. And these internal APIs help us on the Spryker platform side to enable composability. They enable the application to be discoverable, it enables automated connectivity with the application, and it enables others to discover your applications and maybe use them. And the second thing is what you actually need to work on, the actual meat, which is the business APIs. And these are the ones that enable your innovation. These are the ones that make sure that you are able to deliver the customer value. Now, a PBC, all of this together, obviously it's built on top of business logic, right? It's not just APIs returning JSON files. And this list or set of software components actually provide a deep integration with our Spryker Commerce operating system. And this is where the Spryker comes into play here. What you can see on the screen is basically how Spryker is envisioning these PBCs playing a role in the Spryker ecosystem. We have in the middle here the Spryker Application Composition Platform, where this is basically your facade, let's say, in software engineering terms. This is where everything goes. This is where everything is composable. On the left side, you have the consumer applications, meaning your front end, your app, your desktop application, your. And on the right side are the PBCs that we discussed earlier. And the ACP facilitates composability. It proxies the business API logic requests, and it handles all non-business logic concerns. You don't care about identity management. You don't care about request caching. You don't need to care about this stuff. You need to only focus on your business. And this is where the strength of the Spryker Application Composition Platform comes. How does the PBC actually do anything regarding the things that we talked about earlier, the challenges? When it comes to knowledge management, if you are super specialized in you're a very good Akeneo developer. You understand how everything works in there. You understand how CMS systems are designed and abstracted across different systems. You only need to focus on this. You don't need to worry yourself with Eves or Glue or Zed, or you need to work on the back office. Your domain knowledge is where you excel and where you need to focus. Also, it provides a loose coupling with the Spryker ecosystem because you're only working on the business APIs. You have a layer of abstraction in the ACP that helps you move forward without tightly coupling with Spryker. And in my opinion, the coolest part is actually this integration efficiency part. That means that you need to develop once. You only need to develop a connection once. And you can connect it, an application once, a capability once, and you can connect it often. You have a new client, you have a new project, you instantly are able to use this capability that you developed once, and you get it into your application right away. There's also the fact that once we have to resolve this issue, we have to standardize specific approaches, like how we managed product information management systems, how we manage content management systems, how we manage payments, which are, let's say, uniformly existing problems that most projects have to solve. We need to unify these approaches. And then you create the packaged business capability, and you're done. You just need to connect it from now on and shovel in the money. Next is the operational complexity part. Once this configuration, once you develop your package business capability, you develop how you can configure it, it's done. You don't need to do it again for the next and next project. And you only need to worry about your PBC upgrades as a PBC developer. You don't need to worry about how Spryker works. You don't need to worry about how Akineo works. You only need to worry about your PBC and its backing services. You don't need to worry about everything else. And lastly, when you break something down into smaller pieces, usually the complexity goes down. So these PBCs, by design, reduce the system complexity into your domain knowledge. And we at Spryker are thinking of opening up the ACP for contributions using PBCs, and this is how we envision it to be.